the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Hey, check out my new tag team, baby, Monty and the Pharaoh.
Hey, Jimmy, don't forget to tell them about Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast.
Well, you know what, I would, but you already did it.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
The Monty and Pharaoh Show.
Monty and Pharaoh, bro.
Monty and the Pharaoh. The Monty and the Pharaoh.
You've got the future Hall of Famers, that Rucker, Marty Jannetty, and MJ in the house, and I'm sitting here with two more future Hall of Famers, Monty and the Pharaoh. We're doing that stuff and we gonna rock it.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
It's Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
And Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, is it Monty and the Pharaoh?
Yeah. Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Oh, what a run.
Monty and the Pharaoh.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Hey, cut music. When you want the best in professional wrestling, Long Island, there's only one place you're going to get it, right here.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Now, that's not just the coolest, and that's not just the best. That, my friends, is just incredible.
Monty and the Pharaoh. Duh.
Hey! Not get it called off the Russian Nightmare. And you're watching the #1 show on Long Island with Monty and the Pharaoh.
All they were was trailers, you know, and they were
No McDonald's?
Huh?
No McDonald's?
No, shut up.
You say he's already throwing a McDonald's shot at you.
I
Nice
love
and early.
doing that.
Bam!
Yeah, they could have at least given him a burger.
I've done 1,000,001 things in my life.
I know.
Yeah, some kid out there. But
There you go.
Way to go, Pharaoh.
Yeah,
okay.
way to go, Pharaoh.
I'm sorry. What do you mean?
Long Island's #1 pro wrestling broadcast, Monty and the Pharaoh, seen only here out of Indie Music TV in Ronkonkoma, New York. Our special guest, Mr. Ken Patera. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It's a pleasure being here.
Man.
I'll even clap for myself.
That's what I'm talking about. You got room in your house, like an apartment or something like that?
I can rent it out the basement.
What is rent in Minnesota right now?
I got 2 dogs down there, 2 Rottweilers, about 180 pounds apiece.
I like dogs.
Yeah, they're killers. Oh. Yeah, you get along good with them. They
Wait a minute. You're going to put my partner down in a basement with 2 killer Rottweilers?
Well, they'd only take 1 leg, you know.
He's a good friend.
And I was back there with Andre the Giant and Harley Race, and a couple other guys were shooting. My wife was there. We were going through a divorce. So but that doesn't make much sense, does it? Mm. Yeah, so she flies out here from Minnesota, rents a limo out of Philadelphia, has the limo driver stop by the liquor store. She gets a big bottle of wine. She gets to the...
She had it rough with you, it sounds like.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
Really rough. Yeah, so she shows up, and the door guy, somebody showed her to the back of the arena down there in Atlantic City. She was so up, drunk, stumbling. She wore the 10-inch heels, you know.
Did you record it to use in court?
I should have.
Look at this mess.
I should have.
Here you go, Judge. Check this out.
I was so pissed off. I wasn't even. I wasn't thinking properly. You know, I just thinking, I'm gonna kill that. But anyway,
I regress.
Right. Well, the reason I didn't kill her because we got kids.
You should have asked Trump to grab. Never mind. Nah.
Yeah, right.
It didn't hurt his campaign, so whatever.
Trump showed me that trick. He said, grab him right by the crotch and pick him up.
What did he tell you? Keep a stiff upper lip. Oh,
something like that.
Wow. Wow. What was Thanksgiving at the Patera house?
Dangerous. Dangerous. Now,
what, do you arm wrestle for the turkey?
Do you guys try to sleep with each other's wives and stuff like that, just to prove who was the dominant one?
Wives?
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm talking when we were 6, 7, 8 years old.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Jesus, God.
Give them time to grow up before they get into those
Yeah,
games.
right. So, we turned the living room into a battle royal every Saturday morning when we were watching wrestling. Now, we lived in a unique situation in Portland, Oregon. We were the first family on the block, in the middle-class neighborhood, you know, to have a TV.
Okay.
I was 10 years old, 1953. So all the neighborhood kids would come in. I mean, wrestling was it, you know. So within 6 months, every piece of furniture in the house was broke. And we had some nice stuff.
Yeah.
You know, my parents did. And it all turned into kindling. But yeah, that's where we'd beat out of each other. I mean, we didn't know. We thought it was real.
Yeah. Right.
You know.
Right.
We're staying at Echo Summit. That's above Lake Tahoe in Nevada. And so the Olympic Committee had built an Olympic Village for us to stay in. Well, all they were was trailers, you know, and they were
No McDonald's?
Huh?
No McDonald's?
No, shut up.
You say he's already throwing a McDonald's shot at you.
I
Nice
love
and early.
doing that.
Bam!
They could have at least given him a burger.
I've done 1,000,001 things in my life.
I know.
Some kid out there. But
There you go.
Way to go, Pharaoh.
Yeah,
okay.
way to go, Pharaoh.
I'm sorry. What are you?
In fact, your agent told me when I was picking up burgers, he goes,
No
"Do not
McDonald's."
pick up
Do you
McDonald's."
sit? Do you?
And I said, "Absolutely not."
You're surrounded by.
Go to Wendy's.
I like Wendy's.
They serve them.
I just had a Wendy's hamburger.
I picked it up for you.
Yeah, thank you. And Reno was famous for whorehouses. You know, they had the Mustang Ranch.
Absolutely.
And all that stuff. And
I go to Reno often
do you?
for work. Yeah, travel there often.
Oh, you ever been out to the Mustang? Or is that closed down now?
No, Mr. Patera, I'm married. I would never be out to the Mustang Ranch. How dare you even say
go
that?
Out there and there's about 10 trailers, and they're surrounded by a big cyclone fence, and they have a buzzer on the gate.
They got that pink trailer. I mean, I heard they have a pink trailer over there too.
A what?
The pink, special pink trailer.
Pink trailer.
So we hit the. Forget it. Go ahead. Tell your story.
Anyway, you go down there, you take your finger and you push the button and it buzzes, and they let you in. And you go in the main trailer there, and then the girls come out. There's a line. There's a yellow line right down the middle of the room. And 8, 9, 10 girls all line up on that line. And they're all in bikinis. And you just pick the one that you want to be with
Nice.
for the next 30, 40 minutes, 60 minutes.
What's the cost for that?
Would you?
Well, when I was there in 1968,
It's like a drive-through.
it was $5.
By the way, you don't get with Hannibal. to see.
$5.
Were they worth it?
2 out of the 9 that came out that evening were worth it.
Wait a minute, I missed it. How
What does
much?
that
How
tell
much
you?
was it?
$5.
Oh my
$5.
God!
It's
Someone making the money
1968.
you were making. Forget about it. You could have went through the whole crew.
Yeah, but only 2 of them
I
were
was an
worth the
amateur.
5.
I was an amateur athlete for the United States of United States of America in 1968. I had that much money. Yeah.
But you must have went back when you became a superstar or a pro wrestling
There's no
superstar.
reason to go back to Reno. God, Reno.
Could it be?
I was married by then.
And
God,
well behaved.
I-
And well behaved.
yeah.
In the Ric Flair ESPN 30 for 30, Rick talks about Vern Gagne running you guys ragged back in the early days. Any thoughts on that? Can you elaborate further on what Rick had to say about being run ragged by Vern Gagne?
Yeah.
What was that
Yeah.
like?
Well, our main trainer was a guy by the name of Billy Robinson. And he grew up in Manchester, England. And over in England was like South Africa and Germany, and what they called when wrestlers started back in the 40s and 50s, they would learn to hook. And hooking in wrestling means that you put a hold on somebody and they have to give up. It's like MMA, you know.
Yeah.
The tough man contest, all that stuff. And that's what we went, that's the type of training we did. Then we'd go and do calisthenics for an hour and a half, do like 1,000 Hindu squats, you know, and then we'd do, you know, push-ups and, you know, all kinds of that. And then if you wanted to lift weights afterwards, then that was, you know, that was your free time. So Rick and I, and well, all the guys, Jimmy Brunzell, Greg Gagne. Well, Greg Gagne was just a stick. He weighed about 170 pounds.
My partner calls him tennis legs.
Stop.
Tennis legs.
Yeah, but he was able to beat guys that were 6'6", 350. Oh, he pinned their shoulders right to the mat.
Wow.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Are
I
we-
mean, he's a tough son of
Are
a...
we talking about nepotism here?
Yeah, that's what it is. Nepotism wins again.
For a second, I thought he was
So,
being serious.
You know, since you're talking about Greg, then, if nepotism wins again, how come Pops didn't put the belt on him to try to save the territory?
Well, yeah, that would have been ugly. Yeah, that's the only thing I get. That would have really been ugly.
You don't see Tennis Legs as a heavyweight champion?
The what?
Tennis Legs. Greg Gagne.
Yeah.
No, that wouldn't work? Heavyweight champion of the
Well,
world?
Larry Henning referred to Greg Gagne
Oh, no.
as buggy whip arms, spindly legs,
Buggy whip arms?
yeah, pot belly,
Nice.
a neck like a stack of dimes,
Oh, boy.
but tough.
But tough.
Yeah.
All right.
He's a promoter's kid.
Was Vern tough, though?
Oh, yeah.
Could Vern whoop your...
Vern, no.
No.
Were you being serious?
No, I'm
I'm
asking.
going to come over there.
No, no, whoa, whoa, no,
please
whoa,
don't
whoa,
come
whoa.
over here. No,
No,
no.
was Vern tough enough to take on guys like you?
Yeah.
And, yeah, like I know Billy Robinson, I heard, was like really, really tough, right? He could.
Just Slaughter slapped him around like a redheaded stepchild.
Really?
Yes.
Tell the story.
Well, I wasn't there.
So then,
There was Sergeant Slaughter and Chris Taylor, you know, 6'5",
Yeah.
400 pounds. He was a Greco-Roman wrestler in the 72 games with me. But Sergeant Slaughter and Chris Taylor and a couple other, and the Irwin brothers from Duluth, Minnesota, they came in the next year into Vern's wrestling camp. And so Billy Robinson was around doing something, and he got in an altercation with Sergeant Slaughter. And Sergeant Slaughter, what we refer to in wrestling as stretching your opponent, that means you get the best of them and then make them give up.
right?
Baron von Raschke, you guys remember the Baron?
Sure.
Sure.
He was national heavyweight wrestling champion out of Nebraska back in the early 60s. He said, he told Billy Robinson at training camp, he said, Billy, you're from England. That doesn't be around here. Any good collegiate wrestler could whip your.
Wow.
He said the only reason you beat people is that they let you have their body. Like they'll get down the floor and then you try to do something. You'll give them a cheap shot, like driving a knee into the ribs while they're down on the floor, driving a knee into the hip. You know, cheap shots. And Billy says, well, that's not true. Well, it was true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Slaughter heard that. And Slaughter wasn't afraid of him anymore.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, he injured Sheik, didn't he, Billy Robinson?
Yeah, I was there.
He
That
hurt-
was like the
He hurt
first,
him bad.
first week of our training camp in 1972, December of 72. Or was that? No, November of 72. So we were all down in a, referee's position in amateur wrestling, and we'd try to turn each other over and, escape and everything, as if you were in an amateur match. Well, then Billy says, Khosrow, that's Iron Sheik. Khosrow Vasiri is his real name. So Billy's trying to turn, I think, Ric Flair. He couldn't turn him. And so Billy, come here, Cosro, I can turn you. Well, Rick weighed 300 pounds and Cosro weighed 180. And Cosro looks at him, no, coach, no, coach. He couldn't speak very good English back in those days, as if he can now.
Yeah, I was just thinking that. Okay.
So here comes the challenge. Billy said, I can turn you. So Cosro gets down on the mat, spread eagle. Billy Robinson could not even turn him an inch. Well, Billy gets pissed off and says, okay, I can't turn you. Well, we'll do the get down on your hands and knees, like referee position. And takes his knee, drives it right into Cosro's hip. Oh, I was there and I said, you mother, what a cheap shot.
Yeah.
And well, Cosro's damn near in tears, and he had a lump and a bruise on his hip for a month after that. And I told Billy after training camp that day, it was 6 hours a day.
Yeah,
we go to training camp, and I said, "Why did you do that?" Well, he's making fun of me. I said, "No, he wasn't making fun of you. He just said that that." You couldn't turn him, and that was it.
So Vern didn't get involved and say, hey, take it easy on these guys?
Vern wasn't there.
Wasn't there at all?
No, he was at the office that day.
Okay.
But Vern did show up a day or two later, and we all had a little powwow, let's say, about what Billy was doing, taking cheap shots and stuff. And then a few weeks after that, Barron comes out and tells Billy that he couldn't beat an average college wrestler.
Hulk Hogan, who arguably could be the greatest wrestler of all time. Your opinion?
In what capacity?
How about the greatest draw of all time?
Now you're talking.
Okay.
Now you're talking.
Again, when I look at a wrestler, I look at it's not necessarily has to be the greatest wrestler. They have to have all the tools, right? Good mic skills.
Right.
Have a good look. Right. Can wrestle, right? Doesn't necessarily have to be the best wrestler of all time.
Bit,
yeah.
Serviceable.
So
give us something.
And for me, Hulk, I grew up on Hulk Hogan, I guess, and not grew up on it, but to me, he is probably one at least in the top 3 greatest. But can you compare the two?
Bruno and Hogan.
Yeah. Well, I saw Hulk about a year ago on some talk show, and somebody asked him who the greatest performer was in wrestling. He says, without a doubt, Ric Flair.
I disagree, by the way.
Okay, now
I'm kind of with him as far as the whole package.
Yeah, now
you
can't really pick one. You got to take a 5.
It's tough,
and then 10. Maybe 10 would be
right.
Better suited.
Yes. The next thing you know, you have 20, but go on.
Yeah, because like Hulk had the big foot, bounce off the rope, and the big leg.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And what else?
Oh, you forgot the other well-rounded part of the arsenal, the 3 punches. You
but you
only need 3.
At the time, that's all that was needed.
The fans they loved it.
Again, Minnesota guy, AWA, different than a WWF person that grows up on this type of wrestling. With all due respect, huge Bruno fan. Bruno, I didn't think was a great wrestler either, and he didn't have very good mic skills, in my opinion.
Nobody thought he was a good wrestler.
No,
really,
but he was hot.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'll tell you a funny story. We're at the TV studio in Minneapolis, and Vern starts. There's about 50 of us in there, and we're getting ready for some big anniversary deal. So we have Hulk and Mad Dog Vachon, the Giant. Nick Bockwinkel, Ray the Crippler Stevens. I mean, everybody was there. Me and Jerry Blackwell. I mean, everybody was there in the studio. So Vern started around with Hulk. Now, Hulk's 6'5". At that time, he probably weighed 300. and Vern is like 5'10", 58 years of age, not in the best shape.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was all right for going to the tennis court, because that's where he trained, on the tennis court.
Right.
And so he tries to leg dive Hulk. Well, let's say here's Hulk and here's Vern. So Vern tries to leg dive Hulk. Hulk just collapses on top of him and hooks him around the waist. Vern's on face down on the floor, the concrete floor of the TV studio, and all you see is 2 hands and 2 feet sticking out.
Yeah,
you know,
he's been enveloped.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah.
Was San Martino, who, in your opinion, who was the better draw, San Martino or Hogan?
Oh, Hogan.
Logical.
But in the beginning, when it was more ethnic, more Italians and Greeks in the northeast here, well, Bruno, you couldn't beat Bruno.
Right.
I mean, every spaghetti vendor in town.
When did you get more butterfly? Because you wrestled in the Garden against San Martino,
Oh,
sold
I had
out.
butterflies. Oh.
Did you have more butterflies wrestling Hogan in those crowds, or the San Martino crowds?
No, San Martino.
Yeah.
Because I was in awe
Yeah.
of Bruno. You know, I'd only been, I was right out of the Olympics in '72, and here I'm in, 5 years later, I'm in Madison Square Garden wrestling Bruno in the main event. And he was a big Ken Patera fan. He watched all my weightlifting in the national championships, the Pan American Games where I won 4 gold medals, the Olympic Games. And he even knew about my shot putting career when I was at Brigham Young University. And when I came into wrestling, all the wrestlers knew who I was. And of course, I don't realize that. You know, I'm just another amateur athlete. You know,
San Martino obviously hated steroids, and you, great Olympic champion that you were, he had to have known you were on steroids, right?
I hated steroids, but I knew I had to take some.
Were you ever pressured to take?
Yeah.
You were pressured. Okay.
Yeah.
So San Martino ever talked to you about that at all?
Yeah, I talked to Bruno about it.
Try to discourage you from taking roids, or?
No, this is way after the Olympics. You know, this is from '72 to when I first met Bruno in '76.
How was his strength level, though? Getting back to my question, compared to some of these amazing specimens we saw later with
not really, because he was past his prime and he wasn't lifting heavy weights anymore when I wrestled him.
Okay.
So you know, body
Not the
strength.
same.
But yeah, you know you're in the ring with somebody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. How about guys back in those days who could compare to your strength? Your strength is legendary. How about a guy like Tony Atlas? Was there anyone else you ever got in the ring with and said, wow, this guy's actually as strong as me?
Well,
or close?
No, well, there again, you know, Tony had more arm strength than leg strength.
Okay.
Seriously.
Okay.
Yeah, he bench pressed almost 600 pounds. He couldn't squat 600 pounds.
Right.
And the story goes back when you're in the WWF, that Vince Sr. promised to make you the transitional heavyweight champion before Backlund.
Yeah.
But that fell through, and they gave it to Graham.
Yeah.
And then that's why they gave you the Intercontinental title. Can you tell that story?
Well, that was kind of complicated, but let me see if I can stumble through this mess. Superstar Billy Graham was working for Eddie Graham down in Florida territory. Backlund and I were up here in the WWF. And so Vince was being pressured by Bruno to put the belt on me. You know, because Bruno wanted to wrap his career up. And so the old man says, well, he said, guys like Patera, there's very few of those guys. They don't need a belt. You know, they can go in these big arenas and sell turn-away crowds every night without having a championship belt, you know. So I'd like to put it on Billy Graham. And this is after Billy Graham the whole WWF over, you know, scammed him and Ivan Koloff, you know, all this goes way back, you know, to like 74, 75, 72.
What was the scam? What is
Yeah,
it?
I never heard
I'm
the
not
story.
familiar
They're
with
holding
this.
them up for money.
Okay.
They wanted, Ernie
Okay.
Ladd.
Okay.
Yeah, like
So
Ernie.
Graham was in the WWF and held them up for money, and then they.
Huh?
Graham was in the WWF.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Yeah, they wanted
Interesting.
more money for their matches.
They all want to be paid main event level.
By the way, I got to mention this, and I never agreed with this, that somebody, now, while it may be true that someone is so over that they don't need the belt, did that bother you that they didn't give you the belt? Because that would bother me. You're world championship material. Did that even annoy
Well,
you?
I took old man Vince at his word that he was going to put the belt on me.
It would get to you.
Yeah, it would
Okay.
get to me.
Okay.
Well,
It should have.
Then the Intercontinental belt came up.
Mm-hmm.
And that got to me. Then it was supposed to get back to me again.
Mm-hmm.
And it never, that evolution never materialized.
Were you aware at the time? I mean, probably not, but I'm just curious. When you first held that Intercontinental title, being so brand new, did you have any idea that this belt would have longevity, would have all these years later, this great history that you basically helped start?
No, I was very selfish. I didn't give a fuck about the Intercontinental.
Okay. Hey, that's fine
because
too.
at that time, nobody knew what it was going to be. Vince didn't know what it was going to be.
We took it very seriously as
Yeah,
fans.
I
We were
know,
like,
but
wow.
it was to the wrestlers. It was just there.
Just there.
It was a belt.
Right.
And then it did evolve into a big deal until Miss China
Jericho.
beat all the WWF superstars.
Here we go.
That killed it.
She's not pitting you, is she?
No. The difference between senior and junior, senior was a diplomat. Everything evolved around a diplomatic basis. You take a little bit, I take a little bit. You take a little bit. Nobody took everything.
Mm-hmm.
His office was the top left-hand pocket of his shirt.
Okay.
Yeah, that was his filing system, was the pocket of his shirt.
Okay.
When he told you something, his word, it was going to come true. You could bank on it. Now, the kid, he grew up in a different generation, of course, and he knew he was going to inherit that business, so he thought it was owed to him. Diplomacy, go out the window, Jack. I'm the boss here now. What I say goes. If I want to turn this supposedly borderline for real sport, entertainment, to a theatrical cartoon show, I'm going to do it. Well, that's where the money was.